and let's go ahead and get started with our analysis. So, the euro dollar, just to kick us off, obviously, the euro dollar, I'm looking for a little bit more of a rally than where we're currently at. The euro dollar has gone to where we had thought we were going to get to towards that 113 level. It was the 161% extension, 786 retracement. We were looking on Friday thinking we were going to get there, and we overshot. I actually was surprised we went as far as we did, but it was Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon market was a little thin. There are just probably some liquidations, if you will. Going late into the day on Friday after the real strong dollar response to the stronger data that we saw, especially that retail sales data that we got on Friday. Now we've seen a little bit of a pullback, and what we've done is we're pulling back towards what I feel is going to be very good resistance for today. So the bottom line is if we can back up the euro dollar towards this 113.50 level, I think this is going to be a great area, in my opinion, to be on the short side of the euro if we can. This 113.55, I think is what it was, 113.60. Let's see here. Let me remove. Right there, 113.55. So if we can make our way towards 113.55, I think that's going to be a great place to be on the short side of the euro. So in other words, if it does this, I'm surprised we haven't gone up there yet, but ultimately that's where I'd like to see us back up to, and then I will start looking for, like I said, I'm going to start looking for some short positions as we make our way up there. So that resistance will be 113.55. 113.55. Okay. We have shifted to a bearish bias, and I'm going to take a little bit more of a shorter term view on these currencies, just because I think longer term, like when I say longer term, we're in a range. Okay. So, so that longer term, range environment, if I just keep putting us in the range, we're going to end up being in a range for probably the next 6 months. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to keep us more of a near term, near term right now. We're looking at a downward trend or a bearish bias probably till we get to about 110 or so. All right. So for now, 113.55, we're in a bearish bias, and what we have to mark up as support is going to be Friday's lows, because if we knock out Friday's lows, then that's going to put 112 right into play. All right, so now let me make sure there's no lines up here I can take. Actually, this one I can remove. Just grab that. Right, so big support is going to come in at 112.80, because if we break this, if we break that, then we are then looking at a move towards 112. All right. Okay, if we break that, because then I'm thinking that this move is not finished until we get to 112, because we have this. If you don't remember from Friday, so I'll just go ahead and put this on down. AB equals CD. So that move towards 112 looks very doable. We've had a shallow retracement, that shallow retracement is giving us that follow through that we had expected. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at the pound dollar. Here's the pound. So the pound was under a little bit of pressure earlier, and we're getting a bit of a bounce at the moment, which I'm not really too sure why, but we are seeing a little bit of a bounce in the pound. Now, the pound dollar, I'm happy that it's bouncing a little bit because it's pulling back the euro pound, which is good. I'm really not too sure what to do with the cable. Last week we talked about this, and I don't know why those lines didn't transfer over too well, but we talked about a break below this support here at 143. I think it was 143.75 if I'm not mistaken. That was the support that we had written down last week. When we broke through that, I was thinking, oh yeah, that's going to take us right to 143 rather quickly. We haven't gone down there, and that to me is pretty A, surprising, B, impressive. So, the cable, the lack of follow through to the downside is, like I said, it's pretty impressive to me. Now, how do you trade that? I don't know. I mean, because in my opinion, I would have, if I was looking for longs, which I'm not, but if I was, I'd be looking for longs down here at 143. We have a 618 retracement. You can see some horizontal support. That would have offered a great place for a bounce. The fact is that we're bouncing before we even get there is a little surprising to me, and I don't know why that's happening, but it is, and it's interesting. One of my data sources just went down, but everything else is working just fine. All the data seems to be coming over here just fine too. Interesting. Okay. So I don't know where support's going to be. I mean, I would write down support at this 143 level, but I just don't know if we're going to get down there because the euro, personally, I think the euro is going to bounce to 113.50. So if the euro bounces to 113.50, it's probably going to drag the cable back up. So it's hard to really judge where support for the cable is going to be and resistance for the cable is going to be. I'm really not too sure. I'm going to mark the overnight low, I think, which is 143.30. Resistance, okay, what's not great support I can write down is 143.30. Oops. 43.30. Okay. It's not, like I said, it's not great support, but it is support. Resistance, I'm thinking it's going to be back here. So if we rally, it's gonna look something like this, like maybe 144.50 or so. Because if you ask me, it looks like it's going to squeeze a bit. 144.53 is a 618, so I'm going to write down 144.50. This is a big range here in the pound. All right, let's go over to the Swissy. All right, here's a Swissy. Now, what's really interesting about the Swiss franc is this thing has not pulled back at all, um, which is pretty impressive. I mean, you look at this and the pullbacks have been very minor, which means there's people like myself that are not in it. And there's probably a lot of people that are short going, oh man, this thing's not pulling back. So, you know, my 2 cents are is if we break above this 98 cent level, it's going to start to squeeze. Okay. That's going to be key resistance. And I know we're in a range right now, but man, this thing's going to threaten to go bullish here. If we can break above 98 cents. Support for right now, I want to say it's not too far away. And the reason why I say that is because the thing about this Swissy is it's very well bid. So I mean, we'll call it 97.40, but it's like I said, it's not pulling back. And when things don't pull back like that, chances are it's going to make another run higher. Let's take a look at the yen. Now, as Paul pointed out, the GDP numbers out of Japan, he seems to think they're going to be a big deal. Now, I don't see, and Japanese data has not been much of a market mover, and it typically and notoriously is not. But there's a lot of analysts and a lot of people talking that if Japan's GDP numbers are too weak, it's going to spur some action from the BOJ. And so, perhaps tomorrow night we'll have to pay a little closer to the Japanese data. And frankly, when I look at the dollar yen, I've been looking for a place to get long just because we came down finally to, the support that we had been expecting down here at 105.50. Why I didn't buy the dollar yen is still to this day completely beyond me. I technically met with, it got to a place where I felt was the place that you wanted to be long the dollar yen, and I still didn't take advantage of it. So, um, with this dollar yen, the key resistance, as you can see here, is going to be at 109.50. We've known that. We've had that number written down for quite a few days. Now, the dollar yen, though, so any move down to 108.50 or 108.25, excuse me, this is the number we had written down last week. You want to be on the long side down here and looking for an eventual break above 109.50, I think. Okay, so 108.25 and then 109.50. That's resistance. Okay. And I think a move above 109.50, and when we come out of this channel, if we come out of this channel to the upside, that's going to turn this dollar yen near term bullish. Okay. All right, let's go over to the dollar Canadian. So dollar Canadian, I picked up some dollar Canadian this morning right here, literally right at these levels, 129.08. The dollar Canadian is holding up really well despite the strength that we're seeing in crude oil this morning. Now, Goldman has turned bullish in crude. which is risky in itself. Okay. Um, and the thing is the dollar, you look at crude oil, and crude I thought actually would post or was going to post a false breakout last week. Obviously, the Nigerian situation that pushed crude back into new highs. Now, we have this big channel. Let's get rid of this. We already knew this is null and void. You look at this dollar Canadian, and we're making our way up towards the upper end of the channel, which, if we can make it up to like 48 bucks, it should reverse up there. All right, so the point that Paul was trying to make is that crude continues to rally and the dollar Canadian is not pulling back. So the lack of pullback gives the dollar Canadian every excuse in the world to break out above 130 should crude oil start to pull back. Okay. And I agree with him too. And that's why I've already started buying some dollar Canadian down here. And I will tell you that if we break above 130, I'm going to buy some more. I mean, if we break above 130, I'm going to obviously buy some more dollar Canadian because I think that the inverted head and shoulder pattern is in play then. But I'm also watching crude because crude's so strong. So if crude starts to back away, that might be the catalyst that drives us higher. So anyway, from here, you'll notice that the 38% retracement, Paul pointed out that yeah, if we come back down here, this breakout point right through here. Let me grab this. Right through here, this is going to be a great opportunity to be on the long side of the dollar Canadian, right down at basically 128.85. Just imagine some stops getting tripped below the 129 level. Okay. 128.85 or so, that'll be great support, or 128.80. I mean, it's going to be right through here. Okay, right through there. That'll be really good support. And resistance is 129.60 and then 130. Okay. And we're in a range right now. We're trying to develop an upside break, but we've formed a range down here at the bottom of this downtrend. So any move above 130 puts that inverted head and shoulder pattern in play. You can see it right through here. There's the shoulder, head, shoulder. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to put you on hold for just a few minutes, and when I come back, we're going to do the Kiwi, the Aussie, the Peso, everything else. So I'll be back in a few short minutes. Don't go anywhere. Hi traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. So we're actually seeing a little bit of dollar weakness as far as the euro dollar is pushing up towards the 113.50 level. We're just we are probably going to hit new highs here. What's really impressive is the dollar Canadian. Notice how the dollar Canadian is actually holding up. Crude oil just pushed to a new high as well. So we are seeing some dollar weakness come in, except against like the Canadian, which ironically you have crude oil up over 2% and you have the dollar Canadian that's not pulling back, which tells you about the sheer strength that the dollar Canadian is seeing right now, which do not disregard. I'm gonna tell you right now. I know I picked up some dollar Canadian, so I'm talking my own book right now, but like I said, I don't think you want to ignore that. is if the euro does peak here at 113.50, then that's probably going to send the dollar Canadian a lot higher here in a few minutes. All right, let's go. Let's finish up with some of these commodity currencies. So if you take a look at the Kiwi, I'm surprised that the Kiwi and the Aussie are not weaker due to the weak Chinese data that came out overnight or over the weekend, excuse me. But we were getting a little oversold in some of these charts, so you're seeing some dollar weakness come in. The question is, looking at the Kiwi, how far are we going to go, and how far are we going to bounce? And the Kiwi has been extremely frustrating. I'll be the first one to admit. Has been one of those more frustrating trades. I'm not in the Kiwi right now, although I am short some Kiwi due to some Aussie New Zealand, being long some Aussie New Zealand, but I'm surprised that the Kiwi dollar is as strong as it is, I have to say. I feel like right now I should be shorting some Kiwi, but I'm going to refrain for just a moment. I think if given an opportunity up here, let's call it like 68 and a quarter. I think if we can make it up there, I'd probably rather be on the short side up there. Let's see if we can make it up there. 68.25. We are coming out of this double top, and it was still working. By the way, it's very frustrating, but it's still trying to make its way lower out of that upward sloping channel range that we're in. So I think any rally above 168, to 168.10 to 168.20 is probably not a bad place to be on the short side if you want to be. Support right now is going to be this 67.50. That's going to be pretty key support. Look at crude. Crude's rallying and the dollar Canadian is not pulling back. That's impressive. All right, so there's the Kiwi. Let's go over to the Aussie. Now, the Aussie, so we hit the previous resistance, current support, 161% extension, probably a little oversold. We're bouncing. RSI is diverging. Now you got to look for a bounce. I mean, the Aussie is bouncing back and obviously struggling right here, but I think we could bounce even a little bit more. Question is, how far are we going to go? I don't know what this is, so let me get rid of it. I don't know what that blue line I had there from last week. So I think that any rally back to this this right here to the 70. Oops. I think any rally back to 74 cents, you got to use that as an opportunity. I just don't know if we're going to make it all the way up there. That's my question. Is can we make it all the way up here? All right. I think it's possible. So I think you got to exercise a little bit of patience. So I'm just gonna write down 74 cents, and then support is obviously the overnight lows, which is 72.50. basically, and that's pretty good support. I don't think bulls want to see that break at this point. If um, anybody's bullish, okay. But the Aussies still trying to complete this head and shoulder pattern. So, any rally up to 74 cents, you just probably want to look for a selling opportunity. Okay. But you can see all the support and why we stopped where we're at, and despite the Chinese numbers that were so weak, I mean we're just getting a bounce from there. Um, so I think the way to trade this, if you get the opportunity, is to be short up here, okay, like that. All right. Now, I question whether we're going to make it up there or not. That's just if we can get up there, how great would that be? All right, let's take a look at the dollar index. So here's the dollar index, and pullbacks are minimal. So so 94.30, 94.35 is going to be support. 94.35, and resistance for the dollar index. I mean, resistance for the dollar index is going to be a spike high from Friday, but you know, oops. So that's going to be near-term resistance. I just think I think where we're going to find major resistance is this channel top, right? So this channel top right here, there's the channel bottom. Hmm. Where's the other line that I just made? Okay, that's fine. This is going to be the major resistance on the way back up. Okay, it's going to be up here. We're not dealing with that right now. I'm just saying that's what we're going to have to deal with probably in the next few days. So right now we're just kind of boxed in here. So a dip to 94.35 be a good place to be on the long side, and then if we break out through 94.80, then that puts 95.50 really in play. Okay, let's take a look at the peso. Wait, did I finish that up? I'm sorry. I have to go back to the dollar. So 94.85. And this is more in a range, I think. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the peso. Here's the peso. Very, very strong here. I mean, look at how strong the peso has been. And think about this. The market isn't even risk off yet. I mean, how crazy is that? The market's not even risk off, and we're like right up against resistance here. If you're short the US dollar Mexican peso right now, you're probably very, very concerned. Okay. And I played this a bunch on Friday. I actually played this like on an intraday basis. I actually played both sides of the peso. because on Friday I felt that on Friday we weren't going to break. We were going to break down. Excuse me. We weren't going to break down further in equities, so I played the peso on both sides of the market. I think I shorted it near these highs, and I bought it down here. And but all I have to say is the U.S. dollar Mexican peso looks like we're gonna rip higher towards this 1850. I am, just so you all know, I am looking to short the U.S. dollar Mexican peso at 1850. I've been planning on that trade for a long time. I'm a little hesitant because if we get up there and the market is risk off, I'll be hesitant about standing in front of it. But it is something that I am looking to do here in the future. So just to let you all know. We're right up against resistance here at 1822. I'm going to write down 1827, which this is the 50%. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure that's 50% retracement because it's not. It's actually 1825. I'm going to write that down as resistance right now. So even if we break new highs in the US dollar Mexican peso, you have to be careful with it. Okay? 1825. So this support is probably going to be pretty strong on the way back down. 810, 1810. We're in a range, but we're threatening to. In my opinion, we're threatening to turn bullish back, going back up into the levels that a lot of people probably think that we shouldn't be going back to. So. Yeah, keep an eye on the peso. This thing probably turned bullish going back to 1850 or maybe even 19. Let's take a look at the Norwegian krona. So keep a close eye on the Norwegian krona. I got out of it last week and then I rebought some this morning already. And it's under the same conditions as the dollar Canadian, is that I feel like crude oil's upside is limited from here, even though we just hit new highs this morning. I think that its upside is limited to about, for crude to probably about $48. So with that being said, I don't think the Norwegian krona has a lot of downside here. Maybe towards 1813. Resistance is going to be obviously 825. Oops, not 19, 18. And then 1825, which is major resistance. All right, let's go over to the Swedish krona. Now the Swedish krona, I got out of it on Thursday, or on Friday, excuse me. I was long at 815. My cost average is right here. I got out of it like at 826. You guys knew why I got out, because we hit the 50% retracement. Now I'm looking for a dip back down to 818. Oops, it's not 18. This is 8. So support would be 818, and resistance is 826. And this will be key support on the way back down. I'm just hoping we'll get back down there. Okay. We were turning bullish because it held channel support, right? We held channel support, give us a bullish reversal, and now it's bullish back into its range. Okay. All right. Here's your bias chart. It's done. And let me answer some questions.